Hello, everyone. This is Whitney Will from Starhearth Astrology, and I'm here today to talk about the week of Monday, February 19th through Sunday, February 25th. I do these every week on my podcast, which you can subscribe to on my Substack at Starhearth Astrology. But today I also just felt like doing a video and posting it on YouTube. So if you want to see the video version, if you're listening on Substack, then you can see the charts. And if you want to start your Monday mornings listening to me talk about the week ahead, then head over to my Substack and hit subscribe, and you will get an email with the podcast when it comes out. Yeah, thank you all for being here. It's been great to hear people making the effort to reach out and let me know that they are listening. Venus just went into Aquarius last week, and Aquarius is my first house. And, after a month of Venus and Capricorn in the 12th house, it can feel very isolating. So, kind of coming back and being like, oh, okay, we can all connect again. Here we are. So, yeah, let's jump into the week. Where we really are this week, and what has really been calling to me this morning to talk about is being in Pisces season. The sun went into Pisces last night, Sunday the 18th, at about 8:15 p.m. on the West Coast, and brings us into a new season and a softening season and a thawing season, both literally and also emotionally. We just spent the last 2 months with the sun in Saturn ruled signs. So first Capricorn and then Aquarius. And these are times when the solar matters, the lunar matters, the biological and physiological worlds are moving the most slowly, where we're thinking about time from the perspective of time moving slowly. So we can see a lot farther, we can plan a lot farther. We're in the heart of winter. So in theory, we don't have a tremendous amount of the biological world to be tending, although in our modern life, we've kind of separated from that practice. But there's this kind of internal pull to Saturn's seasons that let us connect to deeper deeper experiences of time, which also mean these broader experiences of time, and really thinking about the past and thinking about the future and being able to kind of sort out what really matters from, the demands of our daily life, which increase as the year gets busier and there's more plants, right? Even if we just think about this in the context of the garden, the sleepiest time of year, it's the time when we plan the garden for next year. And when we enter into Pisces season, we enter into the thaw. And thawing is messy, right? There's a relief, but also, right, if you have ever seen something with freezer burn, right? Ice rips through cell walls, and then when it thaws, it no longer has a structure. So there's a way in which, even if the structure has been destroyed or the integrity has been destroyed, when we're frozen, we can't see it or feel it because that ice, that blockage, that water, that flow that has become solid is retaining the form. And when we enter the thaw and we realize that the integrity of the structure has been torn through, we're a little bit soggy, right? A caterpillar builds this external structure of the chrysalis, and then everything inside of it turns to goo, right? It surrenders entirely its structure and form. And so there is a vulnerability in the sign of Pisces and in Pisces season that is unlike the vulnerability of anything else. It is that surrendering quality of what remains, what is going to rise out of this goo. And I think we see Jupiter, who is the traditional ruler of Pisces, really in as this kind of blind faith quality in the sign of Pisces. In Sagittarius, it has a bunch of lofty ideas. It has creed, it has drive, it has mission. It's going on an adventure to accomplish something. And when we get to Pisces, it has survived the trials, the pressures, the waiting of Capricorn and Saturn and Aquarius. And now we find it this kind of space of like, if we are going to make it to the new beginning, what we have left to rely on is faith. And in order to make it to that shore of a new beginning, to the shore of Aries, where we will emerge again and move towards the light and towards building a new thing, we will need to process the grief of what has been, of what has been lost, of what no longer has form or structure or purpose. And some of those things, we will have the faith that they will regain their structure. And some of those things will be washed out into, the great Mother Ocean, who will reabsorb them. And there's a loss in that aspect. So it's the surrender of faith and loss. And right, what understanding that yes, we are a part of everything, and also we are very small in the context of everything. And that those two things are not contradictory. But if we reach into our hearts, then there's a truth that, right, we cannot be destroyed, and we will certainly be destroyed. All the forms will be dissolved back in, and they will never die. So, back under Jupiter. Jupiter this year is one of the main players and who I have really kind of put my trust into in terms of 2024 being a year that for many of us will not be the worst year. And I'm just saying that because I am feeling in my body the global grief, the fear of what's happening, the anguish of feeling like what we are doing is bearing witness to something. And to feeling this very precarious hold on the way that the world is. And I think this collective acknowledgement and this feeling that it's really going to shift in the next half decade. So we are with faith and surrender and trying to have hope, having hope in our connection with each other and the journey that Jupiter has for us in the coming months as Jupiter forms an exact conjunction with Uranus in April and then moves into Gemini in May, and then begins a journey of conjoining planets as they move through Gemini, but also squaring Saturn and this kind of pressure of do we have faith in the people, or are we overcome with doubt that this is all going to work out or not? So as we come into Pisces season, that's what I am really feeling. And as we are building up towards the Virgo full moon this week, I think we're being called into this idea of how Virgo balances Pisces, right? So Pisces has this expansiveness and has this synergistic quality of trying to encompass the whole. And sometimes that means trying to swallow the grief whole, trying to experience the grief whole, trying to find a way for everything to be part of it. And the only way for everything to be part of it is for you to surrender the boundaries of the self and of the tactile world so that everything participates in everything. And the Virgo balancing wisdom to this Pisces space is to tend everything, each thing as if it were everything, right? God is in the details. You tend what is in front of you and trust, right? Pisces brings the trust, Virgo brings the practice. And so Virgo is about the daily practice of bring your values to the heart of your life and then live them each in the smallest task. And if you are feeling overwhelmed, do something small. Take care of something small. Water a plant, feed yourself, unload the dishwasher. And if you want it to feel more magical, if that feels too mundane, light a candle while you are doing that. Because that is how we are going to keep moving with time when we are faced with the overwhelm of the expanse, which can be Pisces emotionally, thoughtfully, the thaw, right? If the thaw is hurting, let's plant a seed or two. Let's do something small. Virgo can find the holiness in the smallest tiny action. And there's a part of us that wants to say, maybe that's too small, that doesn't matter, right? We've all heard the story of the starfish, or maybe we haven't. And the story of the starfish is there was a big storm and a whole bunch of starfish got washed up on the beach. And there was an old man and a young man. The young man was probably running along the beach in the morning, and there was an old man walking from starfish to starfish, picking them up and throwing them back into the water. And the young man says, like, what are you going to do? You're going to pick up them all and you're going to throw them all back? If there's another storm, they're going to wash up. It doesn't even matter. And the old man picks up a starfish, chucks it in the ocean, and says, it mattered to that one. And there's Virgo's response. Because if we allow our overwhelm to bring us to a place of despair, which can be one of the shadows of Pisces, and put us in a state of paralysis, then we're not doing service to the whole. Right? Becoming overwhelmed to the extent that we are paralyzed doesn't help the whole. So do the tiny thing, even if it feels like to some part of you, it doesn't matter, right? In the whole expanse of time, probably doesn't matter, but it matters to this one. It matters in this time. And, oof, oh, what a sermon. Jesus. My toddler always says, "Why did you say cheeses? Why did you say cheeses?" Okay. We are not just in Pisces. The week is not just the buildup towards the Virgo new moon. It wants it to get it all organized. We've got a few other crucial things that happen. One is the Venus-Mars conjunction at 7 degrees of Aquarius that happens on Wednesday. So we're kind of building up to that. A Venus-Mars conjunction in Aquarius is so interesting to me. There was another one that happened in Pisces season of 1990, I think. A Venus-Mars conjunction can be kind of this self-serving aspect because it's really about like, this is what I want and here's how I'm going to get it. And those two things don't need a translation between them. They just function, they just do it. And yet, when we're talking about Aquarius, we're in a very depersonalized sign. So this is, in some ways, this very utilitarian, not totalitarian sign. This is like, what is the best for the whole? And this conjunction is like, if you love something, let it go. This is when you love something, let it be free. It's a weird thing, right? I care about you so much that I need to protect your freedom. This reminds me of Rainer Maria Rilke's quotation about love being the duty to protect each other's solitude. He had an Aquarius moon, and so that kind of need for freedom in order to feel secure, the need to not be totally understood, the need to not be interpreted. Now, there can be a way in which, in this aspect, we step way too far back so that we just want to possess the thing by understanding it, but not actually touching it. And that can feel a little bit cold. But it is actually our devotion to the thing that creates the distance. A paradox, for sure. And it can also be a respect for the power we have and the damage we can do with that power. We just had a week of Mars and Venus both conjoining Pluto. And I think when planets conjoin Pluto, they can understand the damage that they can do. Both by not being big enough and by being too much. So there's a way in which this Venus-Mars conjunction has come together humbled and is willing to gain objective perspective on what we want and who we're in relationship with for the betterment of the whole. On Thursday, Mercury moves into Pisces. And so this is this kind of sacred time of year where our intuition is better than our deductive reasoning. This is a time when we are stuck, we need to give up on the idea of efficiency and the idea of moving in a linear fashion. And we need to, get a little bit adrift in order to find the way. The insights that will come may not make sense on a linear timeline, but the messages are pure. And they offer these kind of creative, poetic solutions that if we can have the faith that we're getting there, and this is what I'm most jealous of with my Pisces brethren, as a double Virgo myself, is Pisces has a sense of being unhurried. Like, I remember talking to different Pisces in my life, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, this is what I want. And I'm just going to kind of trust that it's going to get there. And maybe they're just hiding it. But like, as a Virgo, I'm like, okay, if this is my goal, I am like mapping it all the way out, how I'm getting there. I'm constantly checking how fast it's happening. If I'm not working on it, then I feel like I don't really want it. Right. And it's all about this like Virgoan obsessive hurriedness versus this Piscean, like, yeah, I want to go there. So of course I'm getting there and I don't need to like push it all the way. And so that Mercury in Pisces has faith, not so great at having a plan, right? So there can be silly things that happen that don't really make sense. Um, and yet we get there. The chart behind me is the chart of the Virgo full moon, which you can see there with the sun at 5 degrees of Pisces, almost conjoining Mercury. That'll happen next week, and that'll be our halfway point between two Mercury retrogrades. The biggest thing I'm looking at in this chart, it's interesting that the ruler of the moon is in Pisces. It's kind of saying like, okay, yeah, Virgo, you're going to do what you're going to do. It's going to be more or less helpful. But what I'm really looking at is this buildup of the square between Venus and Jupiter and Mars and Jupiter. So this isn't the greatest view, but we've got Venus and Mars separating from their recent conjunction, still very close, square to Jupiter at 10 degrees of Taurus, Jupiter being the ruler of Pisces season and the ruler of the Pisces sun. And basically, right, what do we have to work with? You know, the Virgo full moon is asking, what can we do in this moment, even though there's an overwhelming odds? And then, right, Jupiter in Taurus is looking for simple solutions. And Mars conjunct Venus in Aquarius are asking how they benefit the most people. What ideals are they in service to? Um, and so that's kind of the question of this full moon. So again, grounding with those earth signs. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the context and the breadth and the scope of the problem, do something small. Do something small. Organize your finances and, I don't know, donate 10% to people who are struggling more than you, you know? I mean, it doesn't have to be that number. That's not the point. The point is if you're feeling a pull towards something, honor it with an action. And that's the week. That's the week ahead. That Saturday full moon, it's not really a full moon for partying. It's a full moon for like working on taxes. Um, and getting grounded and staying soft. And um, yeah, I hope that you have time this week to lean in to your own tenderness, your own softness, and your own humility, because I think that those could be some beautiful experiences this week. Thank you, everyone. If you want to come hang out with me and have a personal reading before eclipse season coming next month and the month after, I would really love to spend time with you guys. I do this part, but it's really the readings and the personal connection that are the meaning in this work for me. So, um, see you there. You need, if finances are the issue, reach out. We'll work something out. Okay. Bye.